Perfect. All right. So this way you guys can be able to watch it later because I'm going to be posting this on the campus. So as we look at this, right, a lot of people don't realize, like, just like any negative item on a credit report, this is something you can get paid for. You can get paid for an inaccurate bankruptcy reporting on your credit. And how do you determine that? How do you corner the bureaus? How do you corner LexisNexis so that you put them in a position where they're exposing the fact that they're failing to investigate? And so what I did is I put together a step-by-step process on how to remove a bankruptcy. And typically, this is for individuals that attempts to remove a bankruptcy and they followed all the proper dispute methods and they just haven't had any resolution. And I'm going to explain to you why, guys. There's multiple ways you can do this. There's two ways you can dispute a bankruptcy. If you have a bankruptcy reporting on your credit, right? Let's say you go through a financial crisis, you file a bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy helps really get rid of and alleviate all that debt that you no longer are obligated to pay because it's now filed under bankruptcy. And what they do is they report that bankruptcy in your credit report. And what that bankruptcy does is, even though all your credit has now been, basically, you've been forgiven of that credit through the bankruptcy, it's not reporting on your credit report, and then it's going to report up to 7 years. Now, what people don't realize is when it's reporting on your credit file, it's fraudulently reporting on your credit file. And I'm explaining to you why it's fraudulently reporting. Because the court that filed the bankruptcy does not actually communicate to the bureaus. They don't inform them that you filed the bankruptcy. What they do is they actually now use systems that do share bankruptcy information to collect your info, and then they report it without your authorization. So it's fraudulently being done. And why is it fraudulent? It's fraudulent because it was done without your consent. The same way, if I was to go into your wallet and swipe your credit card and purchase items without your consent, I am now causing fraudulent transactions. Those are transactions that have been processed without your consent. And so now information is being reported about your bankruptcy about you without your consent. You didn't sign any paperwork to have that bankruptcy reported. And so I did share this in the community. You go in the search bar and type in bankruptcy. Right? And I show you here. So what's happening is, this is most recent. This was as of this summer. The bureaus are basically now finding a better way to find bankruptcy information on you. And what they do is they no longer go to what was called PACER. So if anybody's ever gone to court here, if you've ever gone to court and you filed a court case and they have court numbers, PACER is a place where you can go and pull up cases, review people's active cases, and read upon what people are currently being sued for or they're suing for. Right? And so it's a platform that gives you all that information that's court related. And a lot of individuals, such as lawyers or attorneys and people who really do study law, they leverage PACER because PACER gives them an opportunity to understand the basis of each case. And so what these companies are doing, they're using these platforms to learn that you had a bankruptcy through the court. But the court never actually sent any information to the actual bureaus and said, hey, this person filed a bankruptcy, you need to report this. The reason why information gets reported on your credit is because you authorize the reporting of it, right? And so when a bankruptcy is being reported on your consumer report, it is being reported without your consent because there was no agreement signed where you stated that it was okay for them to release the information. Second, if you reached out to the court itself, the court will even tell you that we don't release that information. And so I'm going to walk you guys through that method in a little bit on how you can proceed with confirming that with the courts. But first, I want to give you the basic general understanding of how these bankruptcies end up on people's credit reports, and they're not supposed to be on their credit report, just like many things, right? And so they used Pacer in the past, but the thing with Pacer was Pacer came with a lot of basically filtered information. And so by filtered information, I mean it didn't include all the details that they needed in order to hold it against you. And so there were some errors. There was a lot of gaps. And because there were a lot of gaps in the information that they were receiving, when it came to the dispute of these bankruptcies, it was really easy to get them off. Now they're using different systems that actually hold more information against you so that they can now hold a stronger reason to keep them on there, even though they're doing it fraudulently in the first place. And so these bankruptcies are now they're now being reported through this particular platform. And for any of you who had the opportunity to actually review this, this is a platform they actually now are using in support, right? Because it replaced Pacer. It's in support with all of these other reporting agencies to now have a stronger reason to report bankruptcies on you and have less verified issues. And so they're getting better at this. They're finding better ways to leverage information against you, even though it's all wrong. And so what I'm going to be teaching you today is the basics of it, why it's all being done, and what happens if you do go about disputing it and they still confirm that it's being verified and updated and the investigation isn't actually take place. And so this is giving you the opportunity and the chance to now not only attempt to dispute, but you're going to corner them. You're going to strategically corner them, and then you're going to use that strategy to take them to court and win money against them. So you're going to get paid for the inaccuracy of the bankruptcy, and you're going to get it off of your credit report. But it's going to take some work. And now I'm going to walk you through a couple scenarios. There's multiple scenarios where I do teach individuals how to remove bankruptcies, as you can see here. CJ, one of the students, he removed bankruptcies in 40 days, but he removed 3 of them, right? There were 3 bankruptcies removed in 40 days. And he used the same methods that we teach in the campus, right? And there's different ways to do it, right? Because of the fraudulent reporting, you could challenge it with the affidavit, the fraud affidavit. Or you can submit a letter to the courts challenging the fact that that information is being reported by the bureaus, and you just want confirmation that the courts released it. So what you would do is you would craft a letter and send it to the court and say, hey, this is the first method. You send it to the court. You say, hey, I just wanted to confirm that you did not release my information to the 3 credit bureaus regarding this bankruptcy. They're going to send a letter to you. No, we don't do that. And then you use that letter to dispute with the bureaus. You can say, hey, I reached out to the bureaus, to the court, and they stated that they never released this information. Therefore, you don't have any authorization to be reporting this. That's your proof that they're not reporting it with consent. Second, you can use a fraud affidavit. Fraud affidavit can work in as little as 7 days to 30 days. Or you can corner them, right? And you can corner them by going through this process, which will help you build a case to litigate against them. And so there's different ways to go about disputing, just like anything else, guys. Some are faster than others. Some will get you paid in the end. Others will work faster. And then some are just built for you to go through a standard method of dispute, right? And it's the same rule that applies for all types of disputes. There's multiple ways to dispute things, such as collections, such as charge-offs. It just really depends on the speed and the end result that you're looking to get. And now in this particular case, because we're going through it in the litigation campus, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to go about this. So in the end of this, you can sue them and get paid. So the first step is to always request your data, right? Now, for some of you who may not know what LexisNexis is the very same company that hosts this type of information. And so for those of you who navigated through the credit repair campus, before disputing, I ask that you guys freeze all of the secondary bureaus, which include companies such as LexisNexis, right? LexisNexis houses bankruptcies, they house judgments, they house tax liens, and real estate. And so when you do things such as freeze these type of companies like LexisNexis, sometimes when you do submit applications, they're going to say that they need you to unfreeze them because LexisNexis is a large holder of information when it comes to the credit bureaus. Because guess who the credit bureaus is getting information from? They're getting it from them. Right? You guys have to remember that the credit bureaus don't actually have this information. They're just reporting it. And so LexisNexis is really the one that has your charge off on file, but they're telling the bureaus that you have it on file, and then the bureaus are reporting it on the back end. And so in order to resolve this, you got to cut off the middleman. You got to freeze him, which you have every right to, so that the bureaus don't have access to it. It's like putting a password on your phone. So when you put that password on your phone, you don't have to worry about somebody just going in and checking on your messages and your emails without your consent, right? Especially for individuals who have kids, family members who like playing with phones. You know, you got a password on there. No one can get into it. And so when you don't freeze these, it's basically you leaving your phone unlocked and for anybody to get into it. And so that's what's happening when you don't freeze them. And so back to the bankruptcy topic, LexisNexis is the number one source for this information. And so who are we mainly going to be dealing with specifically in the bankruptcy side? It's going to be LexisNexis. So you're going to gather your info from them. You're going to basically request a full consumer report from them. And that consumer report is going to be sent to this address. You want to send your ID, social security, and the letter requesting this information. Now, I do provide you guys with a letter in the next tab, but I'm going through the basics step by step on what you need to do to get this all done. The next step is you're going to dispute the bankruptcy. So you're going to send a letter to LexisNexis, right? And then you're going to attach all the documents, your ID, social security number, and then you're going to wait 15 to 30 days for them to respond. The next step you're going to take is if they verify the bankruptcy, right? It's a trap. So basically what they're doing is they're trying to get you to basically give up, right? They're going to tell you, hey, it's updated, it's verified. That's usually what they say. Hey, this account has been verified as accurate and it is yours. This account has been updated on your report as verified. Generic responses. And so did you report my bankruptcy to the credit agencies? And so this is what we're asking, right? We're going to be asking the court now. We're going to write the court because now that we sent a letter to them and they said, hey, this is updated and verified. So, okay, so since you verified it, now we're going to corner them. We're going to reach out to the court and say, hey, did you send this information to the credit repair agencies? Right? And then while that's happening, you're going to ask them which method they use to verify. You're going to ask LexisNexis at the same time you're sending the bankruptcy court a letter and say, hey, look, I'm being informed that you reported this information to the credit bureaus. Is this true? And they're going to say no. And while that's happening, you're going to respond to LexisNexis and say, hey, what did you use to verify this? Who did you contact? You give them each 15, 30 days to respond. Then the court is going to say, we don't report bankruptcies because it's true. They don't. And LexisNexis is now going to be stuck because the court has confirmed it. You guys have now all the proof you need. Once the court says we don't report bankruptcies, LexisNexis came back to you with its verified and they respond to the method of verification request with another bogus response. You got yourself some money, guys. All you now have to do is sue them, right? Now, at this point, they must delete it or you got a legal leverage, right? They have to. If they don't delete it, and You've already attempted and you're requesting method of verification. You give them one final notice before you litigate. Or you can hit them with the settlement and say, hey, look, I'm giving you final opportunity to leverage this or handle this or mitigate this, or it will end up in court and you end up paying more. So I'm willing to do a settlement, right? So once it's removed at the source, right? Once it's removed from LexisNexis, you want to send letters to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Okay? Because again, remember, at this point, you're in a situation where if they don't already delete it, you're going to be disputing it with the bureaus. Let's say it comes back as verified, you're not going to request method of verification because LexisNexis actually isn't the one that can remove it from your credit, guys. It's the bureaus. And I've shared this with you guys before, and this is why they're also involved in this, because this isn't LexisNexis credit report. It's Experian, it's Equifax, and TransUnion credit report. So whoever is reporting it, which in a lot of cases I've seen where, Equifax and Experian are the only ones reporting it, or I've also seen Equifax and TransUnion the only ones reporting it, and so forth. Sometimes it's only two bureaus. In some cases, it is all three. You have to dispute with those bureaus, right? The next step is you want to get paid for your work. So you want to track each deletion before and after reports, right? You want to package the results for all the clients and you want to invoice for the services, right? And so we don't just dispute, we eliminate the bankruptcies at the source, guys. And so the whole idea is because they inaccurately reported this information and now you have proof against them that the bankruptcies don't report it, they're not being reported by the courts, you have leverage. Even if the bureaus remove it, you still go back to LexisNexis and you have a case against them. Because you have all the proof. And so the biggest thing here is you never want to skip any of these. You never want to skip LexisNexis. You always challenge them. You challenge the court, ask them for the proof, and then you also want to hit the bureaus on their side as well and get proof from each of them because all of them are working together. And they all have to follow the same laws, the FCRA, Fair Credit Reporting Act. So by understanding the language, the process, and not skipping any of these steps, guys, you now have everything to document this entire process and get paid for it. Because you're building leverage. You're building leverage as soon as they claim that it's been updated and verified, and then as soon as the bankruptcy confirms that they don't report it, and then the bureau says updated and verified, you have leverage. You have leverage, and that's the whole point here. Now, this is going to require at least 4 rounds, 5 rounds, right? It's about 2 months, 2 to 3 months worth of work, but you're going to end up getting paid in the end of this. And so in this particular step here, I go step by step on how to do it from start to finish. And so what I'm going to be covering with you guys is basically what to do, right? So most people attack the credit bureaus first, which is the first mistake, right? You want to go after the source. You want to go after LexisNexis because they're the ones who actually have it. If it wasn't for LexisNexis, these bureaus don't have any of that information. So you want to request a consumer disclosure report. And this is quite similar to, check systems, right? You got check systems, and check systems houses all of the history that's bank related, whether it's, not sufficient funds, checking overdrafts, and so forth. LexisNexis is doing the same thing, and you're going to request the consumer disclosure reports that they have against you. They're using that information against you. And you want to mail it to these addresses, right? Mail the letters to these addresses. Attach all your proof of identification and all the documents that are required while doing so. And so here I have the letter. The next step is once you review and dispute the bankruptcy, right? Once your LexisNexis and LSI reports arrive, once you've got all this information, you want to submit your first dispute letter, which is this one, right? And so this was a request for the consumer report. This is your first dispute letter, right? While they're quick and short, I'm not going to go through them. I'm going over the steps. That's the most important because the letter is really easy. All you guys have to do is fill in the black. You see the blacks? That's it. The rest is done. Your name, this information, and so forth. And that's it. And so I didn't make that part difficult for you guys. It's copy and paste. You just have to follow the steps. So that's why I'm focusing mainly on the steps for you guys. It's because I don't need to be reading those letters to you. They're not that deep. This is where most people get stuck, right? And so if they verify, right, they say it's been verified via Pacer, it's been verified via some type of source of information, which is basically it's invalid because they didn't actually investigate. And two, remember, the bankruptcies don't report to LexisNexis or the bureaus. They just don't. And you're going to do this by writing the bankruptcy a letter, right? You're going to use this exact letter here to inquire with the court. You're going to say, hey, look, did you release this information to the credit bureaus regarding this bankruptcy? And they're going to respond to you like, no, we do not release information or report to the bureaus. That's when you get them, right? Then you're going to request the method of verification for LexisNexis, right? As we spoke about before. And then the fourth step is you're going to leverage both of their contradictions. And so the court will write back and say, we don't report to the bureaus. Then LexisNexis is going to claim that it's been verified, right? And so that's a contradiction. So because the court said, hey, we don't report, now you got them. Because how is it that you're saying it's been verified as a company, but then the court who actually was the one that filed the bankruptcy states that they don't report to you? Are you guys seeing where they're caught now? They're caught in their lie. But you can't tell them that you're reaching out to the court and that you're verifying with them. You have to simultaneously ask them. 100% of the time, the court is going to tell you we don't report, but you need to get that letter from the court. And so the next step is you want to dispute with the credit bureaus, right? So it's time to clean the big three, and you want to dispute with these guys, right? And you'll send a notice for the bankruptcy info. And so when the bankruptcy court responds and they're like, well, hey, when they're like, hey, well, we didn't actually report this information, you take that exact letter, that same exact letter, and you send it to the bureaus and state that the courts confirmed that they did not release this information to you, therefore you need this removed. Right? I'm disputing the accuracy of the bankruptcy entry in my credit report. This entry is incorrect and must be removed. Right? Enclosed a supporting document in my ID. Please investigate. And so you're not exactly telling them what the court said. You're requesting an investigation, and you want to do this for all three bureaus. And so let's say the bureaus come back and they say it's been updated and verified. Now you sue them. Now you sue them, right? You sue them for the simple fact that they failed to investigate. And failure to investigate. That's the number one keys. And then they're reporting inaccurate information. And so from what I have learned is the best way to actually sue them is to go after them through the law of 15 USC 1681, which is every credit reporting agency is required to report fair and accurate information on a consumer report. And so it's not accurate because now the court confirmed and they're now supporting my argument that they don't release that information. So how is it that the bureaus and LexisNexis are claiming has been verified? You systematically trap them. You have proof on both ends that they're failing to investigate and report accurate information. Now you have leverage. This is how you make money off of a bankruptcy. Did all of that make sense for you guys? Did I lose you guys anywhere? Did I click? I know it went over a lot, but did that all make sense for you guys?
Yeah, yes, for me.
Perfect, perfect. Absolutely, absolutely. Johnny just shared something related to you would like to request a copy of your credit report. You want to freeze your credit report. Please contact me directly. This is from LCI website. Yeah, absolutely. And that's also included there, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Correct. And so that's absolutely true. But you're requesting reports from them so that you can dispute the information on those exact reports. And because you're going after the actual source, you are now building leverage. So it's a one big game here, right? Because if we were to just dispute the bureaus directly, right, and just try to get it off, they're going to tell you it's been updated and verified. But you're not actually cornering them. What you want to do is reach out to the courts first, get confirmation after you read your LexisNexis report. Then you want to corner them with what the bank says or the court says but regarding the bankruptcy and them not reporting it. Then you make an attempt to dispute it. If they don't remove it from your credit file, you now can sue. And this is where they start to do things such as settlements with you because they know they're cornered, right? And for individuals who want to maximize this, you can go about it in several ways, right? Let's say during this process, you applied for things such as loans and mortgages and you got denied. Just bring those inquiries, bring those denial letters. All of that is compensatable. It's all damages. So if I got 10 inquiries, it's up to 1,000. It's from 100 to 1,000 per violation. So for each inquiry. So just off of the inquiries alone, if you had 10 inquiries while all this was happening and you were getting denied because of the inaccurate reporting of information, you can get compensated up to 10,000 just off of the inquiries. And that's all statutory, right? We haven't actually gone into the damages. The damages are, things that are impacting you outside of that, such as stress, mental agony, right? Your general mode of living. All of that stuff is damages, right? Damages that aren't really measurable outside of the statutory damages. And so there's an opportunity to make money with these situations and by having this knowledge. And for people who have bankruptcies, or if you know people who do have bankruptcies, you could potentially help them with this information. And so this is the value of what I'm giving in the community is because people can now take this and go help their family members, help their friends, and even their clients when it comes to dealing with bankruptcies. And we provide multiple solutions in relation to bankruptcies. This is just one of the ways, and this is how to get paid. While it takes a little bit longer than the other standard methods that we teach, this is the one that will actually put money in your pocket. Any questions regarding that, guys? Not,
Questions.
I'm not understanding the question. Before being discharged, what being discharged? Remember, the bankruptcy itself, it shouldn't even be on your credit. Period. And so the thing with the bankruptcy, typically will report within like the first 30 to 60 days of you filing it. Right? And that's because once they filter through their systems to check if you have any other information on file for them to report. Because remember, they get paid for reporting information. So it's in their best interest to report this. Right? It's money to them. They don't care about how much it's hurting your credit. And this is why I tell you guys that these credit reporting agencies are not on your team. That's why they have a 100+ page Fair Credit Reporting Act to protect you against them. You don't need 100+ pages to protect me as a consumer if that company had me in their best interest. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And so the whole idea of this is to make sure that you guys understand what's really going on here. You're educated that ultimately you are the one in power. You have to be the one to be educated and leverage this to your advantage, because you can not only get paid out of this, but you still have full control of what's in your credit report. You just have to take that control. You have to put in the energy and the effort. You have to defend it, right? Because all they want to do is make money off of it. So they're going to do everything in their power to keep making money off of it. And it's your job to protect it. It's your job to make sure that if they're reporting things, they're being reported accurately and they're not being fraudulently reported. So to answer your question, Johnny, it shouldn't be on your credit to begin with. Right? The court is going to tell you itself. We don't share this info. We don't report. If the court doesn't report, why is it being reported? Why is it on your credit? It's fraudulent. The court will prove that to you. I don't need to prove that to you. It's not coming from me, guys. I gave you a real-time example that if somebody was to use your information without your consent, it's fraudulent. Right? And so ultimately, my goal today was to walk you guys through the exact process on how to do so, how to protect yourself from bankruptcies and how to make some money off of it. And in regards to the back end of the process, like how to sue them and all that fun stuff, right? That's what I'm building here. Before suing the credit reporting agencies, understanding how all of this works, right? The agreements, all right, suing credit reporting agencies, debt collectors, agreements, right? Hearings. I'm covering all that in the litigation campus, but this has to be on point, guys. And so the reason I haven't released it yet is because it's not on point. I still have a lot of information to add on here to make sure that you guys are executing everything flawlessly and you're not having any issues. Because when you're dealing with litigating, you're suing companies or creditors or debt collectors, you have to have a strong argument and everything has to be accurate because they will use that against you and they know how to do that. And so my goal is to provide you with all the tools and all the resources you need to be able to do it correctly and accurately so you're not wasting time. Because it's not to say something bad will happen. It's just no one wants to waste time. No one wants to go file all these complaints, build cases just to have a flaw in it and then have to start over, right? And so the whole idea of this is it's not like credit repair where you can accidentally submit an error on a dispute and then resubmit it, right? It's a little bit different. Here, we're trying to go all the way with the end resolution with you winning, right? Not to say that credit repair, we're not trying to win in the end. It's you can afford a mistake or two when it comes to credit repair. Not with this, right? I believe I shared this in the last call when I broke down step by step what to do when you're getting sued by a debt collector, right? I in real time, I went through one of our students' debt collector cases and we created a motion to dismiss based off of improper service because we identified that. And I showed you guys how in real time. All right. Absolutely. Yeah. The bankruptcies, they do hurt you for some time and they report. And the thing with the bankruptcies is because this information is being reported on your credit, it's literally stopping people from moving forward after they expunge the liability. Because think about it. A bankruptcy is a fresh start. These companies don't like bankruptcies because one, once you file a bankruptcies, they still don't get paid. Like that debt doesn't actually get discharged because they don't get paid. It's just that you no longer are obligated to pay it because you filed bankruptcy. the obligation is no longer there. It doesn't mean that now the creditor sees you in good standing. That debt's still owed to the creditor, but the creditor can't come after you because of that bankruptcy. That's the difference. Right? You follow chapter 7:13, right? These creditors are still going to be upset about it. And then they're still going to hold it against you via that relationship. But once you file a bankruptcy, debt collectors can't come after you, creditors can't come after you because of that bankruptcy. And what they do now is they go behind the court's back and they created a system to report information to each other in order to be able to share bankruptcies on your credit report, even though the courts don't release this information. And that's the most remarkable part about this, is the system is so rigged, guys. And because people lack the education, they're not aware of the fact that the court does not release this information, and they will happily admit it to you. How is it these companies are going behind our backs and doing it? That's because it's not in their best interest to take care of us. They're not on our side. So we have to use the law to our advantage. We have to use affidavits. We have to use all of these documents to force their hand, to support our argument, to challenge their practices, right? And so that's the whole point here. And so I know I went over a lot. I'm going to leave it open for the remainder of the call for questions related to anything bankruptcy related that I covered during the call, guys. Any questions? No questions? No questions?
What about when it's like on a business?
It's the same thing, because when you go through business, you personal guarantee to get the business line of credit. So let's say I apply for a 50K line of credit and I bankrupt the business. They're going to report it on your personal because your personal was the guarantee of the business, unless you got it strictly on business. The only way you can get strictly business credit is if you have capital, you've been 2 years in business, and you had collateral in that business for them to leverage. And so typically banks usually look for about three things, right? They look for about three things to work with, guys. They want to know if you've got some type of capital, taxes, overhead, or even invoices that you can leverage as collateral, because the collateral in itself is what they're going to be using as the guarantee. But if you don't have the taxes, the collateral, the inventory, equipment, so forth, they're going to now want you to personal guarantee because they need something to go after. And so once you file a bankruptcy under a business and 30 days go by, they report it on your personal. And so what I tell people is we're giving you guys all the knowledge, the education that you need in order for you to understand that it doesn't need to stay on your credit, and it shouldn't be on your credit because it's not being reported by the courts. It's now being pulled by the credit reporting agencies behind your back through third parties without your consent and being reported on your file. Does that make sense? Hopefully that answered your question, my brother.
No, it did though. It did make a lot of sense. My fault. I thought I was saying something. I thought it was off mute.
No.
I was
It's all
just saying,
good.
yeah, it was good, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because in the end, whenever these companies are looking to give you money, they want to know, okay, what's the backup plan? Is it you? Are you gonna guarantee this to us? Even though, again, we know the game, right? We know that they're not really the ones handing the money because banks don't have money. It's being printed. And so they're like, all right, how do I avoid being in charge of this interest? Who can I pin it against? Can I pin it against your inventory and take care of my interest through the inventory? Can I take care of my interest through you as a personal guarantee? Do you have invoicing? You know, what I mean by that is if you have a corporation and you're doing, let's say, 10K a month of invoices, they're going to basically use your invoicing as collateral. Does that make sense? And so they're looking for some type of way to guarantee that they're going to get their money's worth in the end of that. And if it's not going to be through your business, it's going to be through you. And so that's why when you file a bankruptcy on the business, you'll be basically, they can no longer come after you for that. But you no longer are going to be obligated to pay that because you filed the bankruptcy and they can't come after you. But when they report that bankruptcy, I show you guys in the campus how to remove it. So technically, in the end, you're relieved of it all because we know what we know, right? We know that they're not ethically reporting this bankruptcy. The courts do not release this information, and the courts do not actually provide this info to the CRAs. So it's all being fraudulently done.
Facts. That's a big facts. That's 100%. And I have a next question too. After we file the bankruptcy on, like, let's say if it was on the business, would we be able to still do business with that business? Or no, it's closed, done.
Not with. The thing is it's going to be difficult because you're going to have a bankruptcy through that business. And that's why you have the opportunity to open up multiple LLCs, right? If you bankrupt that LLC, it's bankrupt. You can open up another one.
Nah, that is fact. I was just asking though.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing when I was telling you guys with those banks. So if you do get things such as large lines of credit through banks, I always tell people, I'm like, if you are operating a high risk business, you're not certain about the future, you don't know if it's going to work, you know, don't go getting money from banks like Chase and them, right? They're going to give you a lot of money. Go get it from local credit unions. Go get it from banks that you don't plan on having a long-term relationship with. Because if you do file those bankruptcies, you're not burning those bridges. Because remember, those creditors don't get paid. And they're going to be upset about it, right? Even though they can't come after you. That's another reason why they're going to be upset about it. They can't come after you. They can't sell it to a debt collector, right? Because it's been filed as a bankruptcy. And so let's say you do have, let's say you go to Coconut Credit Union, right? Coconut Credit Union gives you 10K. Business goes out of whack. You file a bankruptcy. And now Coconut Credit Union's out of 10K. They can't come after you because of bankruptcy. They'll report it on your credit report. You can remove that in 30 days, right? Because you know that the courts don't report that and it's fraudulent. And so now you start fresh. So now you can now start a new LLC, $100 out of Delaware or Wyoming. The Delaware 160, Wyoming $100, right? And then within 30 days, you set up a business checking account, go to another bank and get more funding because your personal credit should be lined up for you to do that. And that's the game a lot of these businessmen play at this level, guys, is they have multiple LLC. Why do you think our president has 500 plus LLCs? He knows the game. Knows the game. If you can get 50K off of one LLC, how much you think that is off of 500? Let me do the math. 50 times, and that's just 50K. That's 2.5 million off of 500 LLCs. 50K.
Sheesh.
Right?
And that's just light.
Yeah, and so you got 2.5 million, right? And you got, let's say each LLC costs $100 in Wyoming. You spent $5,000 to get 2.5 million in capital. Talk about ROI. Think about that.
That's crazy.
You got to understand the game. The game is about leverage. You learn how to leverage the money and not make bad decisions with it, you'll multiply. You'll continue to get more and more credit. right? You know how to maintain those relationships with the banks, which ones to go after, how to play the game. That's it for you guys. You know, if you need to file that bankruptcy, you're not afraid of what's going to happen because you know what to do. You know they shouldn't be reporting the bankruptcy. You understand, right? And because I recorded this call, you guys are going to be able to see this all over again.
Facts.
Right? You'll be able to see this all over again. I covered exactly how the bankruptcies are being reported, the fact that they shouldn't be on the credit report, how they're doing it. I share all the tools in the campus, right? This summer, I showed you guys that they're just starting to revamp how they're getting this information on you. And so they're getting better and better at this. This is why I tell people, I'm like, guys, you have to get more educated on the credit process because ultimately they're always going to look for better solutions. As we get smarter, they're getting smarter because it's their business. They need to. How else are they going to survive? If I'm a business owner and I know I need to report information on you, and all of a sudden all these deletions are happening because of a new process, all their energy is going towards figuring out a solution to that. They're going against you guys. You're not on the same team. So when we start learning this stuff, we start educating ourselves, that's it. We take back control. Any other questions before we wrap up the call, guys? Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it was a good call. I mean, like I said, we covered how to get paid on bankruptcies. While it is in the litigation campus, you guys are going to have access to it. You will have this video. And so until I release that campus, I'll continue to do more and more calls to get you guys warmed up to it. And so as you guys start to do more and more research, you're going to have all the videos leading up to it. And you guys are seeing the type of value that I'm sharing in this campus because it's the future of credit repair, litigation. Remember this. I'm telling you this right now. Over the next 5-10 years, the people who are going to be rich in the credit space know how to sue. Trust me. Awesome. If you guys don't have anything else,